So hello again, good afternoon, and we will start our webinar. My name is Adam Sobieszkoda and I represent the Polish-Romanian Bilateral Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I am Executive Director, and together with Antal Poland and with Peterka Partners, our chamber is the organizer of this webinar. Today we will present and we will discuss the employment landscape in Poland and in Romania, in the biggest economies in our region. But firstly, let me present shortly our chamber and activities of our chamber. So the role of the Polish-Romanian Bilateral Chamber of Commerce and Industry is to promote business between Poland and Romania. We support and we promote Polish companies in Romania as well as the Romanian companies in Poland through promotion on the promotional channels, as well as we make analysis, market reports, and publications. Our newest publication is the publication Poland Romania Economic and Investment Cooperation. You can download and you can find this publication on our website. But of course, we can also have send you the printed version of this publication. So those interested, please contact me after this webinar. We also, as the chamber, organize some events and networking. Also top management events. We have two flagship events. One on the occasion of the Polish-Romanian Solidarity Day. Each year we organize on March. At the beginning of March this year, our honorary guest was His Excellency Mr. President of Romania, Mr. Nicu Șordan. The second flagship event is on the occasion of the Polish and Romanian National Days at the end of November in Bucharest. So I invite you to get to know with our activities on our website, and also to contact me if you have any questions regarding our activities. Now I would like to present you our today's speakers, and let me introduce with the team of the Antal Poland. And I would like to present Mr. Michał Borkowski. And Michał is responsible for the development of the finance and accountancy, carry out recruitment processes for specialist, managerial, and director positions, including in the accounting, tax, and controlling departments. Michał is actively cooperating with institutions certifying financiers, and also he carries out recruitment processes for key managerial roles. Next is Mrs. Karolina Korzeniewska, Strategic Client Advisor at Antal Poland. Karolina is a sociologist with extensive experience in international corporate environments and has over a decade experience in consulting and recruitment. Karolina is specializing in higher HR strategy and executive search for financial institutions. Since February 2024, she has been leading the development of Antal Business Consulting Division, supporting clients in the selection of tools and the delivery of projects in areas including research, business process optimization, employee development and assessments, audit, and employer branding.
Thank you very much. Good day to you all.
Head of sourcing at Antal Poland. Dominik is responsible for shaping and executing the operational, commercial, and governance strategy for outsourcing services at Antal, including contractor management and process excellence initiatives. Dominik brings extensive international experience across sales, marketing, business development, and large-scale project management within the HR services sector. And he has a strong track record in driving business growth, launching new service lines, and delivering high-impact go-to-market strategies. We have also the representative of the Peterka partners from the Bucharest, Mrs. Ioana Sebestin Naziru, Senior Associate and Deputy Director for Romania. Ioana specializes in corporate and commercial law, M&A, employment and civil law, advising both international and domestic clients across industries, including transportation, manufacturing, and engineering. Ioana currently serves as Deputy Director of the Bucharest office at Peterka Partners and leads the firm's transportation and logistics practice in Romania.
Hello, everyone. Thank you,
today's webinar. And now I would like to present the agenda of today's webinar. And now I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Michał Borkowski from Antal, Poland.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start from the unemployment rate and discuss some facts. Poland is on the top if it comes.
Michał, we can't hear you.
I can hear him.
I think everything's fine.
I can hear you as well, Michael. It's okay.
Also, I can hear Michael.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I will continue.
Okay.
Poland is on the top if it comes to unemployment rate with the same percentage as Czech Republic, and it's around 3%. The highest is in Finland, which was kind of surprise for me. Finland and Spain have more than 10% of unemployment rate. But when it comes to Romania, the biggest challenges are low employment and low educational level among young people. We can see it in the NEET rate. NEET rate means neither in employment nor in education or training. And NEET rate shows young people between 15 and 29 years old. And Romania has the biggest NEET rate in European Union because it's almost 20%. In Poland, it's just 9%, and European Union it's 11. And what's the most interesting and important in that fact is because young people in Romania are not looking for a job; they are inactive and unemployed. That's why it's around 6%. Okay, top fastest growing jobs in both countries. The first one, big data specialist. The market is changing very fast, and companies need information, need data to make decisions. That's why that's number one. Fintech engineers. Fintech is one of the fastest growing industry in both countries. We have more than 400 fintechs in both countries. 400 in Poland and 400 in Romania. That's number two. The next two, AI and machine learning specialists and software applications developers. That's number 3 and 4. And security management specialists. Companies need to protect their assets, their data from costly cyber attacks. I have read somewhere that in Poland we have more than 4,000 cyber attacks every single day, and that's terrifying number. And we have also the core skills that are changing. The market is changing, and the core skills are changing. So in Romania, that's 37%, and in Poland, 31%. That means that the core skills in the next 5 years have to change. Okay, top talent that we need right now in Romania and in Poland, because both countries are growing very fast. We need people in construction like bricklayers, plumbers, painters. In industrial sectors, we need welders, machine operators, and mechanics. And of course, science and IT engineers are also needed, specialists in Romania. And in Poland, we desperately need health-associated professionals like doctors, nurses. In the education sector, we need teachers, psychologists, pedagogues. The next one is TSL sector. We need professional drivers, warehouse workers, and of course blue-collar workers, as in country growing very fast. The next one is inflation rate. Of course, inflation if inflation reduces the value of money, and the total cost of living is rising. But for the companies, it means costs. Growing salaries means high total cost, especially in industries like IT, when the main cost of functional the company is cost of salaries. The highest inflation the highest inflation rate is in Turkey, because there is almost 30%. The lowest in Sweden and Denmark, almost 1%. And about the wage pressure, will tell you Karolina. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Michał. Okay, so we have seen that inflation both in Poland and Romania was significantly above the EU average for let me go back, for March of 22-24, and that pressure didn't disappear without leaving a mark, because when inflation runs high for 2 or 3 years, something has to give. And in labor market, what gives first is wages. That's exactly where I would like to take you now. So the wage pressure is probably the single most discussed topic in boardrooms across Poland as well as Romania right now. And it is not just about numbers on a payslip. It's about how organizations plan to compete for a talent and manage profitability all at the same time, really. So before I show you the data, let me give you one piece of context specific to Romania, which I think is essential for understanding what comes next. So in 2023, Romania's labor productivity stood at around $37 per hour, roughly 33% below the OECD average, which was $55. Annual wages were about 21% below the OECD norm. And yet, between 2015 and 2020, real gross wages in Romania grew by 73%, while productivity grew only 18%. This gap is what creates the structural tension we see in the market today. So wages rising fast, but not always attached to productivity gains. And with that context, let's have a look at the at the numbers. So you can see in the chart that between 21 and 25, the increase was in Poland at 55% and nearly 60% in Romania, just in 4 years. So to put that in perspective, wage growth of 55-60% over 4 years is not a market correction. It's a structural shift, and it is happening across the entire spectrum, not only in IT or finance, but manufacturing, logistics, retail, shared services. It's happening everywhere. So now both countries still sit well below the average. So the gap to the EU for Poland in 24 was still around 1,688 euro per month, and for Romania it was nearly 2,000. It was 1,933 euros. So the cost is real, and it continues to attract foreign investment because this cost is, it happens to be really low from the perspective. But when you look at the chart, you see that the direction of travel is unmistakable. This gap is getting smaller. It is narrowing every year, and companies that build their business cases on a static assumption of cheap labor in CEE, they need to revise those assumptions. The practical implication for HR is that salary budget, these cycles that used to run for 2 or 3 years, the horizon was very long. Now they need to be reviewed annually, and in some sectors they should be reviewed every 6 months. We had such business cases when we followed those for our clients every 6 months regularly. Hourly labor cost, when you look at the chart, it gives us more complete picture because they include not only salaries, but all employer side costs. Social security contributions, benefits, taxes. This is the number that your CFOs actually use when they compare different locations. When we prepare the location study, it happens the same. So in 2025, the EU average stands at 26.2 per hour euro. Poland stands at 15.6 euro, which is 40% discount relative to EU average. Romania is at 12.9. So this is over 50% discount. These are competitive advantages, aren't they? But look at the growth rate. Poland saw hourly labor cost rise by 8.8% in the last year only. So Romania 10.6. So the EU average grew at roughly 4%. And both countries are going toward the EU at more than twice of this piece. So what does it mean in practice? For companies running shared services centers, BPOs, operations, or regional headquarters in Warsaw or in Bucharest, your cost advantage is still there, but it is declining faster, and you need to change because most of you have 5-year business plans. So it changes faster than those 5-year business plans, how they anticipated it. And for HR, if HR is benchmarking salaries against what the market paid 2 years ago, well, that's already behind, and very well behind. So as we have established, wages are rising fast, labor costs are converging towards Western European levels, and the pressure is structural, not cyclical. So within that rising tide of wages, is everyone rising equally? That brings me to the pay gap, which is our next topic, because pay equity, not equality, equity is no longer just an HR topic. It's a legal topic, regulatory topic, and increasingly a branding topic. Let's see where Poland and Romania actually stand. So this chart may surprise you. In 2024, unadjusted pay gap in Romania was approximately 4%, and previous years it was as low as 1%. In Poland, it's around 4 or 5%, whilst EU average, look here, it's 11%. So our countries look like pay equity success stories on the surface, unfortunately. And the slide itself tells you this is the unadjusted gap. That means it is simply the difference in hourly earnings between men and women, without controlling for role, seniority, sector, or contract type. So why is Romania's gap so low? Partly because of high female participation in the public sector and lower skill roles, where wage, let's say, compression reduces the raw gap, not because the pay equity is well managed. No, the gap is narrow because the underlying structures that produce it may not reflect the genuine equal pay for equal work. And this matters enormously right now because the EU Pay Transparency Directive, which will come to in a moment, will require employers to go far beyond this headline number. It requires analysis at the level of equivalent roles, equivalent seniority, equivalent performance. That adjusted analysis often reveals gaps that the 4% headline completely hides. So based on a pilot job evaluations we've been running with clients in both Poland and Romania and other countries, including US managed companies, existing job architectures are frequently misaligned with EU standards. And in some cases, the pay gap we find not even favor the expected direction. So the pay gap favors women in some cases, in some of our actual work with the pay structure of our clients. So, I can't switch the slide. Oh yes, here it is. So the EU Pay Transparency Directive should be introduced in just a couple of weeks, practically today. And as of today, neither of us, Poland nor Romania nor most other EU members, have formally completed that process. So I'm not saying this to alarm you. There will be delays, and we know that. But I'm saying it because it means we are at a pivotal moment. The legislation is here. The obligations are real. And organizations that treat this as a future compliance exercise are already late, most of them. So the directive, what it enables, because of the opportunities, well, first, equal pay for work of equal value. The directive shifts the frame from individual salary negotiations to role-based pay. And that is a structural change that benefits employers as much as employees. Because inconsistent pay for the same roles is one of the biggest sources of employee dissatisfaction and resignation. We see it in our data. We run the satisfaction surveys. We've been doing that for over 15 years. So it's visible in the data and it's being addressed. So the second, employee branding. Transparent and structured pay systems are increasingly differentiator in talent attraction, particularly among younger candidates who actively ask about salary. In first interviews, organizations that can answer that question clearly have an advantage. And the third, and this is especially relevant for companies operating across both Poland and Romania. The directive is an opportunity to align your compensation architecture across both markets. One job architecture, country-specific pay ranges. This is the mode that scales and reduces inconsistency. That makes cross-border mobility far simpler and attractive. So let's start, that's my advice, with a job architecture review. This is like a basis for everything else. So you cannot pay, you cannot build a pay bands, conduct a pay audit, or produce a gender pay gap report without first having a consistent job evaluation framework. Challenges, well, let's be honest. It's not a compliance checklist. The cultural dimension is real, and it is particularly accurate in Poland because it's a deeply private topic in our market. Employees don't discuss it. Managers feel uncomfortable explaining decisions, financial decisions, and HR has often been left like managing individual exceptions rather than systematic structures. So pay transparency forces a conversation that many organizations have been avoiding for years, and it's harder when the data reveals gaps that leadership didn't fully understand. GDPR intersects here in ways that are not fully resolved. Pay information is personal data. The directive gives employees the right to request pay information. Okay, average, but they are clever enough to calculate it down to the persons in the team or on the level. So that's right to ask, intention with the data, minimalization under GDPR. Organizations need legal counsel involved in implementation, not just HR. So in perspective, it applies to all organizations. But everyone can see only that, okay, organizations with over 250 employees, they will first mandatory report the gender pay gap. Well, okay, they will report, but if your country implements legally the directive, the law applies to everyone. So reporting is one, but the law will apply to small and big enterprises the same way. So two concrete actions for right now is conduct a pay audit proactively before the directive forces it, and review confidentiality clauses in employment contracts, because clauses that prohibit employees from disclosing their salary may already be incompatible with the directive. I'll hand over now to Joanna, who will take us deeper into the legal framework, including cross-border compliance and employment reclassification risks. Please.
Thank you, Carolina. Hello, everybody. I think we've all heard Michal and Carolina, so we can definitely agree that about the increasing pressure on the labor market, both in Romania and Poland. And like I said, we can agree that these market developments definitely create a level of complexity for employers, a higher level. Also, the reality is that companies nowadays are no longer managing purely local workforces. We have international teams which are flexible and also very technology driven. So while we have these dynamics and the market that it's changing and the pressure that is increasing, the employment legislation remains largely national and highly regulated, at least from Romania's perspective. Therefore, today I would like to talk about a little bit about 3 practical employment challenges that we have noticed for our clients. So, the first challenge that I identified is in fact the cross-border hiring and the remote work. Because in practice, many companies now recruit regionally rather than locally. Employees may be hired by one company and they will be work remotely from another country. And yes, it may seem simple, this kind of arrangements in theory, but it may create also some legal exposure, because from legal perspective, although in a labor agreement, the applicable law may be agreed by the parties, this does not mean that Romanian employees working from Romania, they don't benefit from some mandatory protection. Also, if we are thinking about remote work, in Romania, remote work, it's regulated. So it's not like an informal HR benefit that I agree with my manager and this is great. No, this entails written documentation, compliance aspects that needs to be taken care of. So even the remote work, it's formalistic and it has implications for the employers, which they have to observe. Another aspect which is important, considering the market and how things are evolving, this kind of remote work, if used in time, they also may trigger some local tax and social obligations. This is why usually, as lawyers, also we recommend that these kind of aspects are duly analyzed with payroll specialists and tax advisors, because apart from the legal aspects and the compliance aspects that they imply, there are also some fiscal and payroll aspects that should also be considered. And as a market reality, the idea is that we notice that while the companies are becoming more international and rather quickly, to be honest, the internal compliance is not necessarily keeping the pace, the same speed with the growth of the company. Which leads me to the second challenge that I've identified, flexibility versus compliance. Because let's be honest, labor shortages and business pressure are realities. Yeah, so companies are increasingly trying to be more flexible and they are trying to adapt to the business pressure. In this case, the companies have tried to find workforce models and they are trying to adapt by using contractors, they are using consultants, they are using outsourcing structures, temporary staffing arrangements, which, let's be honest, from business perspective, it's very beneficial. They are solutions that have become increasingly common across the market. And in many cases, they help the companies and our clients, to be honest, to adapt more efficiently and to solve the business needs rather quickly. Now, from business perspective, like I said, it makes sense. And also from legal perspective, they can make sense for most of the time. Where can be a little bit of a gap, to be honest. The idea is that when you're using these kind of structures and kind of flexible workforce models, you need to have a proper advice in advance. Because what is important, and from the perspective of the Romanian authorities, for example, it's not important the title of a contract. It's in fact important the relationship of the parties. So if we are talking about this kind of structures, flexible structure, it should be an alignment between the contractual structures that it was agreed and also the practical working arrangement that it's envisaged. So what in fact it means, does it entail? It's meaning that the parties from the beginning, they should be aware of each other's responsibilities. These kind of projects usually should be for well-determined projects, and it should not necessarily it should not become this long-term relationship. So usually this is the advice that we give, because adapting to this market is very important. It's survival at some point, not only growth. The idea is that in order to avoid discussions or risk or these kind of things, or minimize them as possible, is this kind of structures to be properly analyzed in advance. At such any discussions about the practice of the Romanian authorities or how they are looking these kind of things would also not be so, let's say, considered a more elaborate discussion. And now we go to the third challenge that we have also seen lately, is the increasing use of technology in employment decisions. So we are living in an era that AI is going to become, it's a reality already. And many discussions about AI, use of AI as tools in recruitment or in monitoring of the employees or in automatic HR process, in automation of the HR processes, it's present. So it's becoming a reality. Now, as you have might notice, or we are behind with the legislation. The legislation is never going to be able to regulate in real time. Yeah, so that's why we have challenges with the EU Implementation Directive and so other aspects of law, because legislation comes after the problem shows up. Yeah, so in these markets, it's very difficult to keep up the pace with the business reality, the fact that you need to be flexible, and in the meantime, you have to be as compliant as possible. So what we do in this kind of situation, what we recommend is always go to the basics, not very, very basics, but the basics of these days. So from the business, from the employer's point of view, they should all the time be, let's say, guided by 4 principles. The idea is that they should be transparent all the time in what they are doing. They should not discriminate. They should be very careful with GDPR, data protection, how they are using the employees' data, and of course, they should be fair. I know it's in theory it sounds rather simple, but this is what in fact it is expected. And for example, we have domains like monitoring of employees or evaluation, where we already have these AI tools. Yes, they exist, they will be used. But all the time, an employer will have to be able to justify its decision in front of an employee, and will have to be able to show how the data of that employee was used. So from the perspective of this new legislation and this versus the new technology that it's used, yes, it's going to be difficult, but this is the main thing. Legislation is not going to come in real time. Yes, there are going to be difficulties, but still, at this moment, there are principles that the employers can follow. Of course, as best as they could, and of course, with the use of professionals. But there are some tools that can be used. And now to conclude, yes, the market is rather difficult. It's on the other hand, it's becoming increasingly dynamic. It's becoming increasingly international. And also, let's be honest, also it has to become very flexible. For employers at this stage, the discussion is no longer only about how to attract and retain talent, but it's also about how to build this kind of work structures that can adapt to this business, to the business reality, while also remaining legally compliant. Yes, and it's rather difficult, to be honest. It's going to be a tough discussion, so let's say, or a tough period. But ultimately, if we are going to consider that clients, organizations, companies that navigate this kind of challenging times with by combining their flexibility, and by being consistent, by being transparent in their decisions, I think they can sometimes have a brand name and have an organizational trust, which in the end maybe could make their road easier to this difficult market. And thank you to all. Dominic, if you can take over, please.
Yes, hello everyone. Let's talk about AI in our region. And let me start with a simple observation. We are all doing AI, but not necessarily using AI. Going forward with the presentation, when you look at the Central and Eastern Europe, including Poland and Romania, the numbers tell an interesting story. A large share of companies already say they have implemented AI. In Poland, for example, we are clearly above the regional average. Sounds impressive, right? But then we look at how many employees actually use AI tools on a weekly basis, and suddenly the picture changes. The adoption at employee level is much lower. So what does this really mean? It means there is a gap, a very real gap between having AI and using AI effectively. And this gap is where most companies are today. From our perspective at Antel, working daily with clients across outsourcing and talent delivery, we see this very clearly. AI is often implemented in selected functions, IT, analytics, sometimes HR, but it's still not fully embedded in everyday work. And this creates both opportunity and risk. The opportunity is obvious. Companies that manage to scale AI usage across team can significantly improve productivity, speed, and decision making. But the risk is equally important and often underestimated. Because without proper adoption, training, and governance, AI becomes just another tool in the drawer rather than a real business driver. So the key question is no longer, do you have AI in your organization? The real question is, how many of your people actually use it and use it well? And this is exactly where we expect the biggest changes in the next 2-3 years, not in technology itself, but in how organizations enable people to work with it. Let me build on the AI discussion with a slightly broader perspective, digital maturity of organizations. What you see here is not only about AI itself, it's about how prepared organizations are to use technology in a meaningful way. Because AI doesn't work in isolation, it depends on the digital foundation. And here the data is quite telling. Across the EU, we already see over 70% of companies reaching at least a basic level of digital maturity. Poland is catching up nicely, moving from around 40% to over 60% in just a few years. Romania is starting from a lower base, but is accelerating very quickly. So the direction is clear. Our markets are moving forward, just a different speed. But what does it really mean in practice? It means that companies are gradually adopting tools like cloud, CRM systems, data analytics, all the enables that make modern HR recruitment and outsourcing actually work. From our experience at Antel, this shift is very visible on the ground. Clients today don't ask, can you deliver talent? They ask, can you integrate with our systems, use data, automate processes, and scale quickly? In other words, outsourcing is becoming more digital than operational. And this creates a very important implication. The real competitive advantage is no longer just access to people. It's the ability to combine people plus technology plus process. Companies that manage to connect these three elements are able to move faster, hire better, and manage risk more effectively. Those that don't will still hire, just slower, more expensively, and with more friction. So if we look at this slide from a business perspective, the key question is not, are we digital enough, but rather, are we digital enough to fully leverage our strategy? Because in today's market, talent and technology are no longer separate conversations. They are one on the same. Let's now zoom into HR because this is where digital transformation becomes very real. Let me give floor to Karolina.
Thank you very much, Dominika. I couldn't agree more how complex is the change that AI is introducing, and it's not possible basically to go further without HR. But What I found particularly striking about the legal picture that Iana had described is, look, the same technologies creating new flexibility and risk in employment structures. They are also reshaping HR from the inside, actually. So that's the point I would like to attach to, plus the adoption of numbers that Dominic just showed us. So there's 60% of Polish organizations with AI implemented and 45% in Romania. Growing fast. Those figures describe what's happening across the business. But HR is not just an observer. HR is both. It's the function that needs to govern it and one that is being transformed by it. So this dual role is where I want you to spend a moment of consideration. Where we are, 90% of EU workers now rely entirely on digital tools. 30% already interact with AI as part of their daily workflow. And the HR process being automated are no longer just administrative. We are talking about CV screening, interview scheduling, onboarding workflows, payroll, performance management cycles, and increasingly predictive workforce analytics, turnover forecasting, generally people analytics in companies. So Poland's HR software market is growing at nearly 13% annually. The investment is being made. But here is the gap that keeps me up at night, and I can see the meaning as well. Well, it should concern every HR leader on this call. Only 1 in 3 employees in CEE has received any formal AI training. Only 23% work in an organization with a clear formal AI policy. HR is expected to manage compliance with the EU AI Act, which has direct implications for automated decisions making in recruitment and performance management, plus the Pay Transparency Directive, plus ongoing GDPR obligations, while simultaneously digitalizing its own processes. So that's a genuine double transformation, really. And the organizations managing its best are the ones that have made a deliberate choice to treat HR technology not as a back office efficiency tool, but as a core part of their talent value proposition. Candidates, particularly the tech, finance, and shared services, they are increasingly evaluating your company digital maturity as an employer brand signal. And the question is no longer whether your HR processes are digital. The question is whether they are good enough to attract people who have better options in the market. So investing in tools, yes, but invest equally in the human readiness to use them, training, governance, and clear policy. That's where the competitive edge is being built right now in both Warsaw and Bucharest. And with that, I'll hand over again to Dominic, who will look how the flexibility and outsourcing models are responding exactly to these pressures we've described today. Dominic, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karolina. Yes, now we arrive at a topic very close to my daily reality, related as well to the topic highlighted by Joanna, and I believe very close to many of yours as well. flexibility versus security. Let's simplify this into one key idea. Today's companies are constantly balancing two things. They need to be flexible, but also safe and compliant. Because the reality is business moves fast. Skills change, demand shifts, and hiring internally often takes too long. And this is exactly why outsourcing is gaining so much importance. But the role of outsourcing has changed. It used to be mainly about cost. Today is about speed, access to talent, and scalability. From what we see at Antal, clients are no longer asking, can you provide people? They are asking, can you provide a model that works and works safely? Because flexibility without structure creates risk, and structure without flexibility slows everything down. So the winning approach is balance. Done right, outsourcing gives you quick access to expertise, the ability to scale fast, and more focus on the core business. And this is especially visible in markets like Poland and Romania, where companies are building regional teams and shared service hubs. But, and this is a key, outsourcing only works when it's done smartly. Not just moving work outside, but designing the right model with clear processes, strong governance, and real accountability. Because the companies that win are not those that outsource the most, but those that do it strategically. And that's the real shift we see today. Outsourcing is no longer just a service. It becomes a business tool, helping companies stay flexible without losing control. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much all for your presentation and for insights regarding employment landscape in Romania and in Poland. Now this is a Q&A section. So if you have any questions regarding this webinar and you have questions to our speakers, please write your question. I don't see any questions from our participants. Of course, the presentation from today's webinar will be sent you to your email address given by registration. So if you have any questions regarding the topic or specific questions to our speakers, please contact us directly. Here you can have our email addresses, and I welcome you to contact with us and discuss about this topic.
Yes, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Thank you very much, Adam, for your hospitality. And
Thank you very much, Antal, and thank you very much, Joanna from Peterka Partners for collaboration. And I hope we'll organize also. Yes, this is some question I see. Sorry.
The words of thank you for the webinar. So we are as well thanking you for the participation in our webinar, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone. Nice seeing you and presenting with you today.